Now that we've had an overview of total rewards and we've discussed compensation and benefits, we're going to turn to developing total rewards strategies. We'll look at the alignment of strategies to corporate goals, and we'll examine a couple case studies that demonstrate that if you implement the right reward strategy, you may create or reinforce a consequence you did not expect. Traditionally, competitive human capital analyses are focused almost exclusively on pay and benefits. Unfortunately, this approach can sometimes be misleading. Employers who just jump to increasing salaries or handing out bonuses to recruit or retain might learn the hard way that this shotgun approach to rewards analysis is ineffective and the expense did not produce what was expected. Tactical decision-making without really looking into solutions and their potential impact may lead to unintended consequences in other areas. For example, by increasing salaries of one group, it may cause discontent in another group of employees who don't understand why they didn't also receive an increase. The solutions are often counterintuitive as well. An employer might think that a pay raise would contribute to content, but perhaps there's another issue not being addressed. Perhaps the lack of a good manager is causing the discontent. What one perceives to be the issue and what really is the issue may vary widely. We need to approach the development of reward strategies from a systems-wide perspective. That is, looking at all the elements that are present to determine what reward schemes are available, will fit into the culture and budget, and will help meet the organization's goals. We also want to ensure that we measure the effectiveness of our strategies, not just on instinct or intuition, but on facts. Whether it's mining HR data, looking at exit interview information, focus groups, or other methods, the reward strategy needs to be based on data and metrics. When making decisions, designing and implementing programs, don't get caught in non-productive approaches that were used in the past. For example, when you're looking at changing a reward structure in the past, the only question that might have been asked is, what's it going to cost us? Now, it's much more important to look at what the value is of that change. In the past, a company might have benchmarked against industry and market leaders, but where we need to be is measuring what's working best for our company in the context of our direct competitors, our business model, and our capital practices. So in the past, strategies would frequently be built on anecdotes or hunches, and might factor in perception of employees. But now we need to have empirical assessments of policies and practices, and we need to factor in behaviors and perceptions. So I want to share with you a couple case studies that really point out the importance of spending the time to analyze the issues before rushing into a reward strategy decision. So we'll take a look at these ideas and how they work in practice. In this case study that we'll talk about, Company X was experiencing high turnover. And it was high turnover of trained and talented performers that they really couldn't afford to lose. They were at their wits' end and just about to spend millions of dollars to provide pay increases across the board and additional monetary incentives to high performers. However, smartly they took a step back and looked at the data they had in their HRMS and payroll systems. They looked at the drivers of turnover, what activities reduced turnover, and which were not factors at all. Here's what they found. As you can see in this chart, what they were about to do was counter to what they found when they analyzed the data around those individuals who stayed in the organization and those that had left. And this was very interesting. They discovered that if someone had been promoted within the last year, it resulted in a 10% reduction in turnover rate. As well, if the supervisor did not leave within the last year, it had a significant effect on retention. But look at the top of the chart. Providing pay adjustments had very little impact on turnover. Thus, the millions of dollars they were about to spend would likely have been for naught. Instead, the company invested that money in creating stability in supervisors and training them how to manage more effectively. The company also looked at which of their employees should have been promoted. Thinking back to our lesson on recruitment, they took stock of their internal talent pool. and they looked at other incentives, such as work assignments, more creative work, etc. Hence, they should have put more emphasis on careers and on supervisors versus simply money. Here's another case study that shows how unintended consequences can occur if the wrong emphasis is chosen for a reward strategy. In this situation, Company Z felt that by creating a team culture, they could increase productivity. They instituted a reward structure that rewarded all the team members for the work performed. So, they divided evenly amongst the team a variable amount of compensation. As you can see by this first chart, a significant amount of pay was distributed to subpar performers, who received 26% of the reward. Stellar performers, on the other hand, only got 31%. The consequence of this can be seen in the second chart on the right. The turnover rate was understandably low among subpar performers. And why would they want to leave? They didn't have to work hard, and they were compensated with bonuses. Conversely, the top performers were more likely to leave, as they became frustrated by carrying the weight of the group and not being rewarded commensurate to their efforts. So in this case, the organization could have been much more successful if they had based their reward strategy on individual performance versus team-based. So hopefully you've gathered through this brief discussion and the preceding lessons that rewards can be a powerful tool in the motivation, acquisition, and retention of talent in the organization. You can see through examples and discussion that HR needs to attend to rewards, needs to look at all the rewards holistically, and has to work effectively with managers and employees to determine needs, values, and costs. And what is the company saying through the rewards provided? Is it the message and the consequence that's intended? This is another area in which HR has a huge impact, whether it be through cost containment efforts or shaping the culture of the organization to reap the rewards that the business needs to be successful.